The PlayStation 5 was announced with a plethora of titles that got people excited, whether it be the Demon's Souls remake, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, but for my money, the game that got me the most excited was Ratchet and Clank A Rift Apart, the return of the Lombax, now on the PlayStation 5, now taken to the next level, and in this video, I want to take a look at 10 big things that we know about Ratchet and Clank A Rift Apart on PlayStation 5 so far, so let's just cut everything and get right into it. Number 1, the story takes place after the Ratchet and Clank future titles that were released on the PlayStation 3, and the main villain once again looks to be Dr. Nefarious. This time he has a bit of an edge on you with his new Dimensionator that can open up portals to other dimensions. Throughout the game, you'll meet a cast of characters that Ratchet and Clank fans will be familiar with, but also new characters. Most notably, of course, is a female Lombax that was shown at the end of the debut trailer. Number 2, while featuring characters from past games, do expect Rift Apart to be a very accessible game to newcomers playing Ratchet and Clank for the very first time as its own standalone story. So playing the previous games aren't completely necessary, and at this point it's pretty hard to even do so without backwards compatibility to the PlayStation 3. However, if you can dig up a PlayStation 3, I would strongly recommend to play the Ratchet Future franchise, particularly Tools of Destruction and A Crack in Time. Those games are fantastic from a gameplay and story standpoint and still hold up pretty well despite being north of a decade old, and you can develop some affinity towards the Lombax, and I would also recommend to play the Ratchet and Clank trilogy that is available as a remaster on the PlayStation 3. Again, not essential, but if you have a PS3, you want to dig up some great games, I would recommend all of those, just to get some backstory on Ratchet if you want. Number 3, as far as the female Lombax is concerned, not too much is known about her at the moment. However, we do know that she will be a playable character in the game, and on top of that, on the official website, it's noted she's a Lombax resistance fighter who is just as determined to take out the robotic scourge as Ratchet is. Number 4, the game is being developed by world-renowned and now first-party Sony studio Insomniac Games. Of course, they were a second-party studio in the past. The studio has done the Ratchet and Clank games going back to the original, but more recently, they have, of course, done Marvel's Spider-Man, and Rift Apart is headed by creative director Marcus Smith, who previously had also led Resistance 3 as well as Sunset Overdrive, 2 pretty great games, so very much in good hands. Number 5, weapons are at the heart of Ratchet and Clank, and they are usually incredibly over the top. If you've played any previous Ratchet and Clank game, I mean, you've got weapons that can make your enemies start dancing. Yes, weapons get pretty crazy, and in Rift Apart, it'll be no different, and a brand new arsenal will be available to Ratchet, some of them including the Burst Pistol, the Sprinkler, the Shatter Bomb, and the Enforcer. A lot more will be added as well in Rift Apart. Expect them to retain the zaniness the franchise is known and loved for. Number 6, while there are some PS5 titles that are being released as cross-generation titles, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and even Horizon Forbidden West, we do know that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a ground-up developed PlayStation 5 exclusive. It will not be coming to the PlayStation 4. You need to have a PlayStation 5 for this one. This comes relatively obvious if you know what's coming in the game, as one of the standout elements of the game is the utilization of the PlayStation 5's solid-state drive. It's incredibly fast, allowing the venturing from dimension to dimension to be incredibly seamless and not require lengthy load time, something that just would not be feasible on the PlayStation 4. Thus, the PlayStation 5 exclusivity makes all the sense in the world, and hey, at the end of the day, they need some games to sell the PS5, and Ratchet and Clank is absolutely one that is going to sell people on the PlayStation 5. Number 7, speaking of things that are exclusive to the PlayStation 5, while the SSD is great, another element that is enhanced with Ratchet and Clank A Rift Apart is the utilization of the DualSense controller. As noted on a PlayStation blog post, thanks to the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers on the DualSense wireless controller, we are able to make each weapon in Ratchet's out-of-this-world arsenal feel unique and more powerful than ever. An example noted on the PlayStation blog is the Enforcer, which is a double-barrel shotgun with multiple fire modes. Pull the trigger halfway and you'll fire a single shot. Squeeze past the first stage and you'll unload a double barrel blast instead. This, coupled alongside with the 3D spatial audio, Ratchet and Clank A Rift Apart is aiming to be a level of full immersion that we haven't seen out of the Ratchet franchise in previous entries, and this is all possible with the exclusive elements that the PlayStation 5 brings to the table, and on top of that, completely eliminating loading screens, that adds to the immersion on top of that, and these are all exclusive features to the PS5. Number 8, visuals are obviously always going to be a key talking point when it comes to next generation titles, and with it being a standard for many PS5 games to offer a variety of different visual options, what will the case be with Ratchet Rift Apart? Well, it was noted that the game would support a performance mode, and that will take the frame rate up to 60 frames per second. That is my ideal way to play. This means that there will be another mode that prioritizes visual fidelity, and that would likely include features such as ray tracing, but knock down the frame rate to 30 frames per second. This has generally been the case with most titles. It's very difficult to get a game running at 4K, include ray tracing, and run at 60 FPS. That's just asking for a lot, and for a $500 box, that is just not going to be attainable for a lot of games unless somehow they figure out how to really optimize these games and get that going, but something that many high-end PCs still struggle with. And in fact, with a game like Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, which was just an upgraded version of a PlayStation 4 title, that has a variety of performance options, and one of them is running at 4K ray tracing enabled, and even that last generation game is only pushing 30 frames per second with those settings enabled. Obviously, with DMC5 Special Edition, you can take off certain features, and it's not difficult to get 60 frames per second. You can run it at 1080p with ray tracing enabled, get 60 FPS. You could run it at 4K ray tracing disabled and get 60 FPS, but you can't do 4K and ray tracing and get 60 FPS. And again, that's a last generation title upgraded for current generation, so Ratchet and Clank, something that's going to boast much more impressive visuals on the ground level, that's going to be really difficult to do. The fact they're offering you options, that's the best thing to do. You can play it at 60 FPS or with max visual fidelity. That is the ideal case scenario. Number 9, for those of you familiar with Ratchet, you know that you'll be exploring a wide variety of planets. However, with Rift Apart, it's just not going to be new planets that are exclusive to Rift Apart. You'll also be exploring planets that are old favorites. However, this time around with a new twist, they will be an alternate dimension version of those classic planets, so that'll offer you something while also being nostalgic. It'll be a breath of fresh air on top of that. Number 10, ultimately, what you guys probably care about the most is the release date for Rift Apart, and while we don't have an official date, the game was noted to be a PlayStation 5 launch window title, so early 2021 is to be expected. To make an apt comparison, Infamous Second Son, which released on the PlayStation 4, that was described to be a PlayStation 4 launch window title ahead of its release, and that game came out in March of 2014, while the PlayStation 4 released in November the previous year. A similar timetable with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart makes a lot of sense. However, we have no official confirmation outside of the fact that it is a release window title. So that's going to conclude this video. Again, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a game that I am incredibly excited about. It's probably my most anticipated PlayStation 5 game, this and Final Fantasy 16, so I wanted to do a video about it. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off with all of your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.